Welcome in. Belly up, have a seat, grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome on into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. It is Thursday, October 16th. This is episode 178, and we're doing a Week 7 preview. And it's my great pleasure to welcome back to the bar, Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing today, Bernie?
I'm doing all right, man. I was writing my fourth and long last night, trying to get it in on some quarterbacks, and it's pretty good. But it had a pretty rough draft.
Okay, all right. As you guys might have heard, we're actually putting this out on Thursday, a special early edition for you guys. You're welcome. All right, because we have a little bit of a different schedule going into the weekend here, and we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the show. But it is Thursday, and we're getting into it for this Week 7 preview, where we have a jam-packed show for you guys. We will set the slate for this weekend's primetime games and island games. We'll check in on some player news and practice reports, look at the activity of our Wingman Fantasy Football League's waiver wire. We'll preview our featured NFL games as selected by you, the audience, and we'll go over this week's matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League and see who's on top of the newest and most updated power rankings. We also have our starts of the week, and as Bernie mentioned, we have another installment of a fourth and long with Bernie. And actually, we don't grab our controllers, but we let you know the status of the Wingman Jam as we head into the Showcase Showdown, and we'll also dive into this week's mailbag. But before we do any of that, I want to make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's get into the prime time and island games. Starting off, we have two teams on bye this week. Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills are both off. So we have some big-time players not going to be in our managers' lineups tonight. All right, the schedule for the prime time and island games are as follows. The Thursday night game is the Pittsburgh Steelers forging their way to Cincinnati to take on the Cincinnati Bengals at 8:15 p.m. If you want to see our preview of that game, you can go to our last show, our week rewind, that's where I went over the Thursday matchup. Let's see. As for the early game, once again, we have a game in London, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, Sunday morning, with the LA Rams taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in Tottenham Hotspur. The Sunday night game this week is actually shaping up to be a very decent game here with the Atlanta Falcons gliding their way over to the Bay to take on the San Francisco 49ers at 8:20 p.m. And this one's going to kill me, guys, getting the stats together. Oh, my gosh. We have a doubleheader Monday night with a game starting at 7 o'clock. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers pillaging into Detroit to take on the Lions, and a 10 o'clock Eastern start time game on Monday. What are you guys doing? The Houston Texans are going to take their shot at the Seattle Seahawks in the Great Northwest at 10 p.m. All right, Bernie, which of these games catches your attention, and what do you think about this doubleheader on Monday night? I'm dreading this already.
Yeah, so the Atlanta game is catching my attention here. That's going to be exciting to see if Atlanta can repeat what they did and not be a roller coaster, because I don't think they scored against a pretty bad team a few weeks back. But yeah, 10 o'clock start time. I guess we're not the only people on the East Coast, and they're trying to, help out those folks on the West Coast with a normal start time.
They knew what they were doing. They moved out there. They knew what they were doing. Yeah, that's going to, especially because I think some of our starts of the week are part of that late game, and that's really going to hurt me trying to get some of these stats together late.
Well, yeah,
right, anyway.
I'm not going to know if I needed Kenneth Walker to score 30 points or 3 points. So
that's true. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Now it is time to get into some player news. We're going to do this a little differently to try and power through this a little bit. So we're going to break this up in two larger chunks, and then Bernie will add some insights as necessary. All right, starting off with some players for our Thursday night game. Like I mentioned, Pittsburgh is going to Cincinnati, and Calvin Austin has already been ruled out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Gesicki has also been ruled out on the Cincinnati side in this game. Not two major players, but it might just consolidate some targets for some secondary targets and even the main players in this game. All right, Noah Brown, the wide receiver for the Commanders, has actually missed the last at least 2 games, maybe 3. Was finally placed on the IR. I don't think it's season-ending IR, but this is mismanagement here. Is now he's going to miss at least 4 more games after the 2 games he already missed. I'm assuming they think he's going to miss that much time to make that move. Jacoby Myers sat out practice on Wednesday. Not sure if this is because of an injury or potential trade out there, as he is one of the 2 or 3 receivers that are being bandied around as trade fodder. Quentin Johnston, who missed last week's game, has returned to a limited practice. And Brock Bowers, once again, does not practice on Wednesday. They have a bye. You can look this up for me. I think they have a bye in week 9, maybe week 8. Nonetheless, the Raiders are holding out Bowers, being very cautious with his injury here. Looks like he's going to miss at least second or third game in a row, and might miss a couple more after this week. George Kittle. Oh, Bernie likes this one. George Kittle is trending in the right direction, looking like he's going to get on the practice field this week for a likely, let's just say potential week 7 return. Juwan Jennings always banged up, limited in practice at the moment, and Ricky Pearsall has yet to practice. This is becoming a lingering knee injury for Ricky Pearsall. And CeeDee Lamb, barring any setbacks, is expected to play in week 7. And these are a little interesting to me here as well. The third receiver for the Colts has been kind of rotating lately, and whoever's in there has been playing well. Josh Downs now is in the concussion protocol. He played through the entire game. I saw a couple hits that looked pretty hard on him. I think he had some late onsetting symptoms here. But Josh Downs is now in the concussion protocol, and being that it's so late in the week without getting a limited practice session in, it is very unlikely that he will play this week. There is a chance, but unlikely at this point. And Ashton Doolin, who filled in as that third spot with Alec Pierce out, has yet to practice as he deals with a chest injury. So with Downs likely out and Doolin questionable, Adonai Mitchell gets another shot for redemption as the wide receiver 3 for the Colts. We'll see what will follow along into the weekend to see if there's a chance to have a good game. All right. Finishing off here before our first break here is the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray did get in a limited practice on Wednesday. However, his week 7 availability is still in doubt. They want to be cautious with his foot injury here, but getting on the practice field this early is a decent sign he will play. And Marvin Harrison Jr., who left week 6 with a concussion, is still technically in the concussion protocol. It's got several steps to clear. However, he did get a limited practice session in on the first day of practice. This is a huge step in the right direction. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but it means he's already crossed one of those 5 steps, which is as there's a short period of time, this is good news for a chance for Harrison to get back onto the field. All right, I went through a lot of guys here. I know we have George Kittle's one of your guys. Marvin Harrison, I think last year he didn't miss any time on a concussion, if I'm not mistaken. So what do you think about these guys? Anything catch your attention? Anything get updated while I was talking there?
No, nothing got updated. Las Vegas's bye week is week 8. So
Okay.
Hopefully after that, week 9, we can start to see some real good production here from Brock Bowers, some solid practicing going on. I am excited about George Kittle coming back. I know San Francisco is excited about George Kittle coming back. So hopefully that will be sooner than later. And the only other comments I have is, I didn't say it at the very beginning, but this Thursday night game that you reviewed so eloquently last episode, Calvin Austin and Mike Gesicki, I know they're ruled out, and like you're saying, they're not big role players, but they might be key third down players for these aging quarterbacks just to get some different looks in. So I would be surprised that we don't see some decent, at least fourth down attempts by Cincinnati and some Pittsburgh punts going on. I know Pittsburgh probably won't need to go for it on fourth down, but Cincinnati sure will be needing to go for it on fourth down.
While you mentioned, little bit of a side tangent here. You mentioned the older quarterbacks. Do you know that this is the second oldest combined age matchup for quarterbacks in NFL history? Were you aware of that at all?
Yeah, I was doing a little research on that, but no, I was not aware of that combined age.
Do you know who the oldest common sum of ages for quarterbacks was?
Was it Brady and Breeze?
You got it, man. Nice job. Yeah. Brady and Breeze. I think it was 2022, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of heard it in passing, so I might have some of the dates wrong there. But someone's like, this isn't the oldest? This is crazy. How is this not the oldest? It's got 2 guys over 40, but that, I guess, Brady was 43 or 4 at that point. So
yeah,
okay.
I was going to do a segment on it, but I wasn't sure when we were going to record this, so I didn't want to do it while the game was on. But
right.
the oldest touchdown thrown was by a guy on the Raiders back in the 70s, and I think he was like 48 years old.
It wasn't Plunkett, was it?
I can't remember his name. I was doing the research and I saw it and I was like, whoa, that's pretty old for being on a football field, let alone throwing a touchdown. I think he had just come in or something. He wasn't starting or nothing like that. He just came in and he threw a touchdown pass.
I remember Steve DeBerg played into his late 40s as a backup quarterback for a long time, but got in like every year, but got a couple starts in like 3 years in a row at that like 45 to 47 range. I don't know what it was exactly.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
All right, moving along with some more news before we get into the action this weekend. Let's go into our Tampa Bay Bucks. They have their own section now, guys. I hate to hear it. And this one's very interesting to me. We'll take a note of this one. I want to talk about this when we get to the end of this run here, Bernie. Emeka Egbuka is still awaiting results. We have no idea the severity of this injury here. We're kind of assuming he's going to miss, but he's not been ruled out. And they haven't been any news at all on this. The last thing I saw was last night on Wednesday night saying they're awaiting his Wednesday results or whatever. So they're not in a hurry to divulge this. I don't know if that's them being sneaky he's going to play, or they're being sneaky we don't want to tell you the bad news. I don't know, or just they're not telling us because they're not telling us. But this is been a long time without any updates since Monday. Mike Evans is set to return to practice on Thursday. They're practicing probably right about now, so we're not sure if he actually did or not, but going into the morning, he was expected to get back on the practice field on Thursday. I don't know if he's going to play this week or not, but being that this is the first practice of their week since they have the Monday night game, that's a great sign for a chance to return to the field. And if Emeka Egbuka does not play, they're going to need some receivers back on this field, as Bucky Irving has already been ruled out, and Chris Godwin, who I thought was ruled out, is now, I see him listed as doubtful, but I think for all intents and purposes, he is not going to play this week. So they're down at least one receiver, probably two, and if maybe three if Mike Evans doesn't play. So they've got some young players that are going to take their spot, or we might have the return of the Hall of Famer, as Bernie likes to call him, Mike Evans. All right, heading back to Green Bay here, Christian Watson had his 21-day practice window open last week as he eyes a return from the PUP list. He's already got his limited practice in last week, was not active though. He's continuing those limited sessions this week with his fourth consecutive limited practice. This is a great sign and a strong chance that showing that the wide receiver might make his season 7 debut. We talked about it after the last 2-point conversation with Dontavian Wicks leaving the game with an ankle injury would open the door for Christian Watson. However, surprisingly, Dontavian Wicks has been practicing this week, although limited. So there's a chance they might have 4 of their receivers this week, depending on these 2 questionable tags. Going to the nation's capital here, Terry McLaurin every Monday and Tuesday says he's looking like he's going to play, and every Thursday and Friday get ruled out. However, he did return to a limited practice on the early part of the week, and there's a decent chance he might make his return in week 7. And they might need him pretty bad here because we mentioned Noah Brown is out for the next 4 weeks, but Deebo Samuel has been playing through a heel injury, has been missing practice. Last week looked very slowed, although he had a great week the week before, so I don't know if that has anything to do with the injury. But with Deebo Samuel missing practice once again this week, we're not sure of his availability, but if McLaurin can play, they might, although I don't want to see it, they might be able to hold out Samuel for a week and let him heal up. All right, going to Tennessee, Calvin Ridley left week 6 early with a hamstring injury, and he has yet to practice, and there's serious doubt that there's serious chance he's going to miss week 7. Chuba Hubbard. This one's very interesting as Rico Dowdle has been a mega stud the last 2 weeks, but Hubbard is getting back on the practice field for the first time since missing those last 2 games. He's trending towards a week 7 return, and now the question is what kind of workload are these guys going to share? Hubbard was all right this year as well. Not as good as Rico's last 2 games, but although Rico had the best 2 matchups of the season in back-to-back weeks, so it's hard to say how much is due to Dowdle or the matchups, but nonetheless, this makes the backfield here is great when they're the player by themselves, but now with the split backfield, it's going to be very interesting. DJ Moore, another one of Bernie's players. This was a little weird. He had a groin injury. I don't know what he thought happened to him here, but they went to the hospital overnight by ambulance to check on the injury. I don't know if he thought maybe he had some sort of a organ issue maybe inside and was just a groin pain. I'm not certain, but nonetheless, he has yet to practice. He has been cleared as just a groin injury, but his week 7 status is still in doubt. And Puka Nacua is listed as day-to-day, has yet to practice. He's by reports, considered a long shot to play, although the coach is saying he's day-to-day here. Keep in mind they have the long travel, the early game time. I think if they were playing at home this week, I think it'd be more like a 65% chance of playing. But with him being on the road out of the country here, I think there's more like a 35% chance of playing at best. And Garrett Wilson, who suffered a knee injury in week number 6, is currently listed as doubtful for week 7. However, Coach Aaron Glenn has yet to rule him out, although news reports say he's going to miss 1 to 3 weeks. All right, I think that's it for that block of time. Any of these guys catch your attention? A lot of question marks in Tampa Bay. And Chuba Hubbard coming back is kind of a big deal one way or the other.
Yeah, Chuba's coming back is a big deal. I'd love to see what that committee looks like when he is back 100%. DJ Moore, he's going to sit on a bench, whether that's on my team or on the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, I heard your rant last episode, and what is Aaron Glenn like? We all like Aaron Glenn. What's he doing? I don't think it's him. It's the organization. And then I'm looking at no new news. Mike Evans from an hour ago still expected to practice. Yahoo has him projected at 13.5 points. So everything's looking like he's going to play. But I'm looking at our availability here. Kate Otten, you had mentioned him a couple weeks or a couple episodes ago. And Sterling Shepard is available. So Sterling Shepard might be like a sneaky what the heck flex. He did get 10 points against Seattle in week 5 and 6 points against San Francisco. But Detroit and New Orleans coming up here in 7 and 8. They're both defenses that you can pass on. So if you need somebody, Sterling Shepard might be out there, and he might be one of the only guys running routes. So take a look at that. And then what are your thoughts on Egbuka?
I don't think he's going to play. First of all, the only question now is the severity of injury. Is he out 1 week or 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think for him to just be out 1 week, he should not play instead of playing 1 week and then trying to miss the next 3 weeks after he tried to play 1 week. So
you mentioned that Mike Evans has a projection, which is good news, but they also whatever that means. I mean, that means something. But Puka Nacua also still has a projection, although it is a little lower. It's like at 10.5 points instead of he'd probably be normally at 16.5 points as a Yahoo projection, I'm guessing.
Right. Probably. Puka, like we talked about Puka a lot. He's just one of those guys. He's just going to rub some dirt on it and try to go if they need him. He might not be ruled out, but he might be like, okay, if you need me, I'm gonna go in, but I'm not gonna go in if you don't need me. You know
even in that last game where he got banged up going before halftime, and he didn't come out of the he didn't start the game in the second half because he was still working out the injury, but he did get back on the field in the second half. But even on the sideline, it was weird. He looked decent. Like he was trying to do like those kind of like running in place and like, stationary kind of cuts. He looked good. I saw one where they had the camera on him. He was doing the running in place. He was kind of doing the cuts and he looked good. And then he took a step to go back to the sideline and you see him, he kind of buckled a little bit and he went to his guys like, I'm good. I'm like, that didn't look like you were good, man. Like when he was focusing and breathing, he was all right. But when he kind of relaxed to take the next step, he was weak or winced. So
it's one of those things. It's like he's like, oh, I don't feel it. I'm making the moves, and it's like, oh, okay. If my ankle goes in this direction at this angle, and I put this much weight on it, I feel it. If I just don't do that, I won't feel it.
Right. I mean, he's a tough guy. So if someone's gonna play through something, he's gonna be one of those guys that do it. Again, I just with these there's him by himself in a vacuum. I say he goes, but like I said, the long travel in the early game time. And Jacksonville not being a high-powered, we'll see. You're right. He might be active, but on a limited snap count, which is the worst thing for our fantasy managers anyway.
Exactly.
Especially, also be careful, guys, with that early game. If he's a late scratch, they say expected to play. You got to get up early and check your news and make your lineup decisions accordingly.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into some of the waiver wire activity this week. We had 7 waiver bids this week on 4 NFL players, where 2 players received multiple bids. Our highest priced acquisition this week went to Lioni's. Tez Johnson went to Lioni's for $10. There was no other bid on Tez Johnson.
You paid too much.
And you were mentioned before, I honestly think Sterling Shepard is the most valuable of those kind of third level guys there. I mean, they had some big plays between Tez Johnson and Cameron Johnson did pretty good as well, but If they're missing those guys, Sterling Shepard's is the guy's going to get 6 catches.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas Goedert was finally picked up after 4 weeks of being the number 1 receiver in Philadelphia. He got picked up by Red Sox Nation. There was another bid by Cubert's Rage, but it was a $0 bid just because we don't get a chance to play this sound. $6, way too much for Dallas Goedert.
You paid too much.
Actually, it's not too much. He's like,
no, it's not. I was going to say, no, it's not.
he's actually he's been on 15 points for like 5 straight weeks. So if you're paying for what he did, good price. If you're paying for what he might do, we'll have to still to be determined, I guess. And surprisingly enough, this player got picked up for $1, but there were 3 bids on the Chicago defense, the streaming defense choice of the week. Cubert's Rage picked up the Chicago defense for $1, outbidding They Took Our Jobs and Fire Billy Napier, who both put in $0 bids. And Quinshon Judkins returns to Amazing Spidey at the very modest price of $0. All right, what do you have on these guys here? Honestly, I couldn't even find Tez Johnson. I didn't know how to spell his name, I guess. I kept putting, I don't know what I put. I thought I saw Cameron Johnson, and I put a bid in for Cameron Johnson. Like, maybe that's just his nickname. And I realized later there's 2 different guys. So that's how bad I was on that.
Yeah. That's the theme of the season so far is Mike messes up everybody's name.
Yeah.
No, okay. Lionized, that is not Calvin Johnson. That's Tez Johnson. You paid too much. And Amazing Spidey.
MVP Tez Johnson.
Right. And Amazing Spidey, I only see your name on this list 1 time. You only made 1 bid, bud? That's unusual.
Well, one was on Cameron Johnson. But it didn't come through because I got Quinshon Judkins. Actually, I think I put like 5 bids on receivers.
Okay.
And they didn't show up because once I got Quinshon Judkins, they drop off the list there. So I guess technically I had other bids there, but they weren't above the priority here.
Yeah, no, this seems about right for where we are with the 14-team league in week 6, only 2 teams on bye, or week 7, only 2 teams on bye, and everybody's kind of just stacked right now. So it's like the 1 and 2 odd players trying to make a difference. So I'm not surprised at all by this.
I will say every time I'm looking, I'm like, oh, Jadon Blue, I'll go pick him up. Like, that's right, he was drafted. All these guys we're talking about. That's why I keep mentioning in these shows here. Get ahead of it. Like I said, our league's a little bit bigger, and I wouldn't say we're sharps or pros, but I'm impressed this year how ahead of the handcuffs we have been this year. There's not many handcuffs even out there. So when we mention these guys who sound like garbage, get them now because it might be your only chance. And again, I'm starting to realize instead of looking at their schedule now, look at their schedule from 3 to 5 weeks from now. And those are the guys you put on your bench and just see if something happens in those 2 to 3 weeks leading up to that. Not only do you have a backup who's now starting, but you have him in a nice run, like the Rico Dowdle run. That was perfect.
Exactly.
All right, guys, it is time to take a look at our NFL games in week number 7. We're going to break down 3 of our NFL games as selected by you, the audience. Our first one here is the Indianapolis Colts heading to the LA Chargers. This game's at 4:05 on Sunday. The over-under is a pretty high one here at 48.5 points. We have a road favorite. The Indianapolis Colts are favored at 1.5 points. Before we get into some of the players, how do you think this game is going to go?
The Colts. This is gonna be a tight game. This is gonna be an exciting game, I think. And I don't want to say this, but every time we say that, we think that I think all 3 of these are going to be good games. But whenever we say it's going to be a shootout, it's never a shootout. But this might be a shootout. I have this one going Indianapolis 27, LA Chargers 24. I think Indy could pull it off with a late Jonathan Taylor touchdown.
I actually have I'm taking the Colts to win this game here. Not the Colts. Yeah. Sorry, that's the opposite.
Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers. Sorry, I said the wrong thing. I very, very convictedly said the wrong thing. I had the Chargers at this one. The home team coming off they won against the Dolphins, but they didn't play well, and I think they're ready to get back to it here. So I mean, this is a kind of a pick 'em. It's at 1.5 points, but I'm going with the home team here as an upset. 48.5. I could go either way. I go either way.
Yeah. I mean, we've been taking the overs and they've been coming in low. So, but I have faith in both of these teams and both of these quarterbacks to put up some points. I just feel like Jonathan Taylor at the end of the day is going to make the difference. He
does seem to break at least one, if not 2 long runs in the second half, and one of them being either gets inside the 5 where they either let him finish it off or not. But he's been awesome all year long, but especially in the second half of these close games, he's been being a big part of the comebacks or the killing of the clock.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get into some of these player options here. Actually, there are some questions to be had here. Starting off with Daniel Indiana Jones.
Hey, lady, you call him Dr. Jones.
I know you are definitely more of a fan than me. I haven't come to a thought yet. I'm going to kind of bounce off you. Is Daniel Jones an automatic start? What are we thinking about here as a start here? He's kind of that, he's earned it. He's in that top 7 to 11 range, I think, on a weekly basis. Is this a matchup where he's an automatic start?
He is an automatic start for me. Daniel Jones leads the NFL in quarterback rating at 79.9 and ranks third in completion percentages at 71.7. He is definitely a must start for me in this game. He's thrown 8 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions, and not all of those have been his fault. Obviously, he gets the stat for it, but I think with his legs, with Jonathan Taylor, with Adonai Mitchell actually holding on to the ball as he's running down the field, I think this is going to be Daniel Jones, a good game for Daniel Jones. Must start.
All right. Yeah, I don't have a strong enough opinion to say I'm looking to get rid of him. He's been so good all year long, and this matchup is not a plus matchup, but not a negative matchup. Yeah.
You have him on your team?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how
I thought you said you're looking to get rid of him. I was like, I'll take him.
No. I'm just as a general thing. No. Yeah. I'm not looking not to start him. He's not like this is a matchup I'm afraid of. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a neutral matchup at the very worst for Daniel Jones this week.
All right.
All right. Jonathan Taylor, no questions.
Oh, you want to go through all the Colts? Go.
Yeah, we'll stay with the Colts here. Jonathan Taylor, no doubts about it. He's going to be a starter all week long, if not the number 1 running back all season so far. It's close between him, Bijan, and Christian McCaffrey. I think Taylor and Bijan have both been very efficient. McCaffrey's been a volume hog here. All right, now to the receivers. A little more question marks here. Sorry, we have I just forgot his name. Michael Pittman came off a dud last week. He's kind of been up and down with no really rhyme or reason. Depends on the matchup here. I think he's one of those guys. If he's against a stellar cornerback, he doesn't do particularly well. But if he's against a weaker defensive backfield, he can perform here. So I kind of put these guys in one group. I put Pittman, Pierce, and Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren's their number 1 option. Maybe not their most doesn't get the most yards because he's a tight end. But how would you rate these guys, Pittman, Pierce, Warren, and are they any of these guys automatic starts, or what are we trying to do with these guys?
No, I think all receivers are probably going to be risky starts for this game. I think the Charger secondary is improving. The volume might be there because of the potential shootout, but I think their ceiling is probably going to be capped as far as yardage and stuff goes. And since if you're in a full PPR league, you might get a little bit better results. Half PPR league, be just cautious. But I would if everybody's healthy, I'd probably put them Pittman, Pierce, Warren, maybe even Pittman, Warren, Pierce.
Warren is no lower than 2 on my book.
Yeah, they're kind of flip flop depending on the game script. I think for me, and the secondary. If they're going to play a zone secondary, I might put Pierce a little bit higher. Than in a man to man, I might put Warren a little bit higher.
In terms of a tight end, Warren's a must start. He's I think he's the number 1 tight end this year. I have to double check that. If not, he's in the top 3. He's been great, and they actually scheme him up quite a bit. It's not just like last week. He had 4 targets in the first 5 plays. They give him rushing touchdown attempts, fake sweeps to other guys where he's the leak out in the other guy. He's a big part of their offense. I like Warren a lot. He's been awesome to watch. I've been playing him as my flex the last couple of weeks as we don't have designated tight ends, and he's come through the last 2 weeks for me with double-digit points and touchdowns. I'm actually looking to sit him this week, just because I
up and put him on the bench.
Well, no, he went in because my team is weak, but I traded. We'll talk about it later, but for the trade for Mike Evans here, now I've got a potential 4th another. That slides Debo down to my second flex, which is it's going to be I have no problem playing Warren. It's hard for me to put him over Debo right now, but if Debo is banged up, it gives me that little. I have no problem putting him in based on injuries and stuff. He has been starting for me, but he's kind of like my last starter, first bench guy, depending on who's playing. And with the acquisition of Mike Evans, it just made my team stronger, where he's able to slide down a little bit.
Is Mike Evans your new Julio Jones? Sorry,
I've traded for him 3 years in a row. I don't draft him, but I end up trading for him. It seems like it.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. Now for the dart throws here for the Colts. Got Adonai Mitchell and Ashland Dulin. Dulin's listed as questionable. He took over for Mitchell, who had that mental error a couple weeks back. So there's it's kind of these two guys are fighting for one spot, and they always fill in for whoever's missing out between Pierce, Pittman, or Downs. This week it looks like Downs is going to miss. So one of these guys get on the field. Mitchell is not has no injury designation. Dillon is questionable, although it's early in the week, so a lot of guys are questionable at this juncture. I don't know if they'll give Mitchell the work ahead of Dillon if they're both active, as they really did put him in the doghouse after that those couple of big mistakes and that loss they had to the Rams. So, but I like Mitchell. I think Mitchell's a really good player. He's only I think it's his third year, second year. He's a really young player. I like his attributes. I think he's going to be good at some point. We saw, except for the drop, boneheaded play, the catch was awesome. He had a 70-yard, would have been a 70-yard touchdown, whatever it was. So I'm actually hoping if Doolin's out, I would not be afraid to take a dart throw with Mitchell, as he's going to be their long bomb target guy. But these are just dart throws at the very least. What do you think about these two players, Mitchell and Dillon? Would you play one over the other if they're both healthy, or just don't worry about it at all? They're not even worth mentioning.
Yeah, I would probably play Mitchell over the two. I think they want to give him a chance to, I don't know, redeem himself or just build his confidence back up. But I don't think this is the game for it. I would bench or avoid both of these guys if you can. But if you have to pick one out of the two, I would go with Mitchell.
Yeah, you have to be pretty desperate to go with these guys. But again, I do like the player of Mitchell. It's just obviously he's not a main player quite yet.
Exactly.
All right, moving over to the Chargers side here. We got Justin Herbert start off the season hot as an MVP candidate. Has slumped a little. I don't want to say slumped. Has lessened that peak as he's been about that 16 to 20 point range the last 3 weeks in terms of fantasy. They did have a big win last week, barely against one of the worst teams, though, if you think about it. So they've lost two. They lost two in a row. Then they beat the Dolphins at the buzzer. So what does that say? They turned it around, or are they really still fading? Let's just stop with Justin Herbert here. Let's just make the easy comparison. Who do you have rated higher, Daniel Jones or Herbert?
For this game, I have Daniel Jones rated higher.
I agree, and I'm more of the Herbert fan of these two. Herbert is still not. You're going to play him depending on your roster, of course. He's in that 9 to 13 range, so he's most likely going to be a starter for you. But he hasn't earned my I've got to put him in kind of thing. I'm looking Daniel Jones ahead of Herbert in this particular matchup.
Yeah, but I would definitely start Herbert in this matchup. But out of the two, Daniel Jones has got my check.
Yeah, because the Colts are going to score. They should be scoring. They score every week, which should force the hand of Herbert to try and keep up. So with that being said, even though Jones might be the favored quarterback, Herbert might be the better fantasy play. And by the end, we'll have to just wait and see. But I don't disagree there. Both these guys are startable guys. Again, I don't do the list like you do. I would assume Daniel Jones is rated 6 to 9 this week, and Herbert's probably 9 to 12, 8 to 12, something like that. So they're both going to be in your top 10 quarterbacks, even if they're reluctantly so.
Yeah. In a 12 to 14 team league, you're definitely you got Herbert. You're starting him.
All right. Moving on to these running backs here, it seemed obvious, but I could see this. I could just see this changing. This this could go either way. Kamani Vidal got the boatload of work last week. Was very productive in a very plus matchup. Hassan Haskins did get on the field, made some good football plays, but didn't get a lot of carries. Is that one game enough to show you Vidal is the guy between these two until they get either another trade or other reinforcements coming in? Is Vidal the main guy until Amarin Hampton gets back?
That would require the assumption of rational coaching. And if you've ever seen the Chargers head coach talk, he is not a rational man.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So this might be okay, Vidal, you had your game. Let's give Haskins a shot and you can back him up a little bit. And then if Haskins can't prove it in the first half, then Vidal, you're back in. So I'm going to lead towards Haskins. I was leading towards Haskins last game, though, and I guess they flipped the script on me. So maybe Vidal was the short-term play, and you did it right by picking him up for that amount. And then Haskins will be the long-term play until what's his name comes back. So I'm leaning towards Haskins, but I was wrong last week, so I could be wrong this week.
That was crazy. The last news reports, I think it was even Sunday morning. If not, it was Saturday night. Yeah. Haskins is going to be the lead back going for and the first snap. That's why I said I just was watching because I don't know these guys that well. I'm like, who's which number? What's going on here? I'm like, and Vidal is so tiny. He is so small. It was easy to pick him out once I kind of realized who they were a little bit there. I was very surprised and pleased that Vidal got, but I put him in holding my breath. I'm actually sitting Vidal this week, just to show you how I figured last week was more of a, not luck, but fortunate, was a fortunate situation. I had him in because of the bye weeks with Nico Collins, for example, and reshuffling flexes. So I played Vidal last week, came through quite well, but even with that performance, I am not confident that this is not going to be a hot hand situation. Vidal might get the first carry again. He definitely earned it with how he did, but say he gets stopped on a couple three, they have a 3 and out with 2 runs for 2 yards, and Hassan comes in and gets a nice 9-yard run in the second series. I could see Haskins being the more productive player any particular week. I don't trust this backfield. I'll just take my points and be happy and go home. I'm not looking to put Vidal in except for super plus matchups, and I don't think this is one of those.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
All right, moving along here to the receiver. So are regardless of your favorite guy here, like I already said, it seems almost crazy to sit Vidal after last week's performance. Are you looking to put these guys in your lineup if you needed second flex, or are you as nervous as I am and just trying to stay away from it if you can?
Yeah, no, I'm nervous because I got it wrong last week, so I don't know, because the news still thinks Haskins should lead the backfield in touches. So I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I really am stumped on this one, so I just stay clear of it altogether. If it's my second flex, there's got to be another option.
Okay. All right. Just double checking the news here. Nothing really came in except a defensive player went on IR. Okay. All right. Now to the receivers here. Quentin Johnson for the whole season has been their best receiver. I think had a little bit of a dud game maybe the week prior. Hold on a second. Yeah, Johnson has been the best receiver throughout the course of the year. Had a little bit of a slump 2 weeks ago, missed this last week. Keenan Allen was very steady also to start the year, and he's been definitely slowing down the last 2 or 3 weeks, barely getting past 6 points in terms of fantasy. And McConkey, who was the biggest dud through the first 3 or 4 weeks, has come on scoring back-to-back weeks with touchdowns. Last week having his best game of the year with 19.5 fantasy points. All right, let's Johnston did return to practice in a limited capacity this week. So right now, let's just assume he's going to play. Things have changed with these guys here a little bit here. As it went like probably Allen, Johnson, McConkey, then Johnson, Allen, McConkey. And now it's maybe McConkey, Johnson, Allen. I don't know. You tell me, how do you rank these guys now, regardless of the matchup? And then are you willing to play these guys and how many?
Yeah, I think McConkey has. I think we saw at the end of the game, last game, that was a pretty big touchdown score, so that might have padded his stats a little bit, but I think that shows the confidence that they have in him, going to him in those tough situations, in those big play moments. So I would put it McConkey, Johnson, Allen at this point.
A little teaser.
Considering Johnston is
banged up.
Good to go.
Okay. Little spoiler alert, I didn't do it because I didn't want to do I don't want to double up with a start of the week. Some people don't have a problem with that. No, I'm just kidding. But I think McConkey's gonna have a really good game this week. I think he's reemerged as the number 1 receiver for the Chargers here with Allen. These older guys usually get off to decent starts. If you think of the Fitzgerald, the Arizona, the old Arizona receiver. Why am I forgetting his
Larry
name?
Fitzgerald?
Larry Fitzgerald, pardon me. Those last 3 or 4 years of when he was definitely the older guy, they were just kind of hanging on. He started out so hot and then would fade. These older guys in a little bit, they get banged up, a little sore. Yeah. Allen came out of the gates hot. I think he's going to probably slow down a little bit as the year goes on. And Johnson, who is our random guy, was very consistent. I think they're going to settle back into what were our preconceived notions here, is McConkey being the one. Johnson has definitely improved. It's going to be more consistent boom bust guy, and Allen's going to be your DeAndre Hopkins style guy, your steady guy who might get a touchdown, which is going to make his day, but not going to break that 100 yards without the score.
Yeah, he don't want to get hurt before he retires at the end of the season.
There you go. All right, our next game here is an NFC East battle here with the biggest over-under that I saw. Anyway, the Washington Commanders heading to Dallas. This is a Sunday afternoon game at 4:25. The over-under is 55 points. Oh my, oh my. Once again, we have a road favorite here of the Commanders at 2 points. And before we get into the players here, what do you think? How do you think this game's going to go? That's a huge number, but these Cowboys games have been bonanzas.
Yeah, this is a pretty big thing. But last week's performance, with Jaden Daniels' performance against Chicago, kind of throws a scare into it all.
Yeah.
He looked rusty, which is expected. The fumble, the interception, they were both on him. So I think the kid's got good character, though. I think he's got a good mindset. So I think he'll bounce back just fine. So I do think this will be a really good game. I do think it will hit the over. And I'm going Washington 31, Dallas 28.
Okay. So you're right there at those numbers. You got it perfect.
Yeah.
I got Washington. Did I actually think about this or just type this in? Man,
Type it in.
I don't like, it's hard to pick against the home teams when these are so close like this, you know, like, because Dallas has really been playing well, especially on offense, obviously. It depends. It was all about the offense of the Commanders. They did not look particularly smooth last week. They had a couple big plays and breakdowns that got on their scores, but in terms of series to series, they didn't look too impressive against the Bears on Monday night. However, there was a little bit of weather. I don't know how much that really had to. It was kind of a swirling mist. I don't know how much that really affected the gameplay or not, but it definitely slowed down the offense for the Commanders. I'm a little torn here. I got Washington as a cover and win. I don't trust that pick too much, honestly. I don't have any pick here with confidence.
Yeah, I hear you. Dallas's defense is not good, though.
That's
I mean,
true.
they're not bad. They're not like Miami Dolphin bad, but they're giving up so many yards all the time.
Yeah. All right. So now we got some players here. Jaden Daniels, you mentioned, was a little rusty. Did have some big rushes, mostly on those third downs, but he still looked fast when he got out of the pocket. He just didn't look as smooth getting out of the pocket to look downfield or keep drives going with the pass. So Jaden Daniels, though, I think he's earned an automatic start. We don't have any disagreement there, right? Even if you're reluctant.
No, this is a get right game, like we were talking, like I just said, but it's
Yeah.
against a bad defense, so this is good, and it's a division game, so that's even more just like stick it to them.
All right, I do want to talk about this guy for a minute or two here. So we had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had his breakout game 2 weeks ago with 28 fantasy points. Went into an island game. Well, it was 2 games on Monday night, but went into a primetime game where he's going to be able to show the world that he was the man. He got all of the work as Chris Rodriguez is banged up, didn't get any touches, and I think Jeremy McNichols had 2 carries, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 touches. So Merritt had all the work. He was my start of the week, and he let us down. He only got like 60 yards, give or take. Looked okay, but no big plays. And against a plus matchup against the Bears, who are one of the worst rushing defenses in terms of fantasy points allowed anyway. Maybe they straighten things up during that bye week. But what are we talking about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? We thought he was going to be a locked and loaded start after 2 weeks ago in the plus matchup. He kind of let us down. This, again, is a super plus matchup. We just had Rico Dowdle get 239 total yards against this team. It's going to be pretty hard to sit him here, but are we wavering? Are we nervous about Krosky-Merritt in this plus matchup?
No, I don't think we're too nervous. Not as nervous as we should be. I think he's proven that he's a good player. I think Washington will probably establish that ground game early just because of what happened last week against Dallas. But the game script might flip towards the second half and passing might come alive. So if Bill wants to put up some fantasy points, he's going to need to score a touchdown in that first half to really make it count. So he's a risky, not, I wouldn't say risky start, but he's not a must start. He's kind of on the fence for me between risky and must start.
Right. So who's out
I'm
this
starting
week? We got James Cook and we got Derrick Henry out. So that's 2 guys above him that are obviously not going to play this week. He's probably like at number 16 this week, give or take. I'm kind of making up a number a little bit because this matchup is just too good no matter how nervous I am. It's like you're going to throw guys in. We put Vidal in last week against Miami because of the matchup. You almost play the running back regardless of their name when they're playing people like Dallas and Miami.
Exactly. And he's like you said, he's shown that he can do it. So I'm comfortable starting him. There's not a ton more that I would start over him, but I'm comfortable starting him in this game.
Yeah. All right. Going to the receivers here. We got Terry McLaurin. Is he going to come back? This news is always optimistic early in the week, and it fades as we get down here. Deebo Samuel's been not practicing for the last 2 weeks, has played through this heel injury, has been a mixed bag in terms of performance. 2 weeks ago was his best game of the season with 86 receiving yards. And last week, again, I don't know if that was due to the first game back with Daniels, the rain, the heel injury, a combination of things. They used Deebo to spring McCaffrey on a broken play. Honestly, that was they all went to deep. They were all focusing on Debo. It seemed like the Chicago defense, and let some of the no-name guys get the bigger catches. So I don't know how much of it was scheme. That makes me a little nervous here. So do you think McLaurin's going to play this week? Let's just start with that.
I don't know. Yes, I think McLaurin. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to say yes.
You can give me a percentage if you're not sure.
I am 50% sure that he's going to play this week.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is with a quad injury, it's just so much like once he gets on the field, if he plays, he might not finish. That's an
true.
easy thing because they're going to be going for his legs when they go to tackle him. If he's making a catch across the middle, if he's going up and comes down funny to high point a ball, like there's just so much going on there. So it's risky for me, but I think he's going to start. I think it's a good defense to start against. So I would say McLaurin's up there to start.
Okay. What do you think about Debo? Debo, I don't know his ranking, but he's been a top 10 receiver all year as he's had 18 points, 19 points, 13 points, and he had a couple duds with a 6-point game. This last one was the lowest one with 3 points. So I don't know where he finished off after the week, but going into last week, I think he was like the number 7 receiver, which is mind-boggling here. He's been very steady with the touchdowns. The touchdowns are definitely helping him out here. Are we worried about this injury? Like, again, he's played twice as he's been missing practice. Do we think he's going to play, or is it one of those things that if McLaurin comes back, maybe they can give Debo a week off?
No, I think Debo will play. I think I'm more confident. I'm not super confident, but I'm more confident that Debo will play than McLaurin will play, and I have him a little bit higher than McLaurin.
Asking for me, because I'm a little nervous with Debo here. As I said, I have no one on bye this week, so my roster's as full as it's going to be. I've got some moving parts, so I'm not sure which way to go here. Like I could put Tyler Warren in over Debo, for example. When you said they give up so many yards, does the Dallas defense? I know there are years past where they just don't tackle. Is that why they're giving away yards? They're not good at tackling, because Debo is great at break. That's when he's at his best, when he can break a tackle or two to get some yards after the catch.
I think that might be the key for this game. But I think that Dallas's defense is just not. They're just not able to cover guys that well. So I don't think that their secondary can compete with good and elite receivers. So, and I think Debo and Terry McLaurin are both of those. Okay. So I think they're just getting beat. They're just not as good. That's it. I don't think it's a scheme thing. I don't think anything like that. I think it's just their players.
All right. Okay. All right. We've got our dart throw guys here. McCaffrey, Lane, and Ertz as a tight end. Ertz is not an automatic start, but he's definitely more in that conversation, and that, again, I'm making up numbers a little bit, that 11 to 18 range in terms of tight ends, depends on who you have and who's out. Luke McCaffrey has scored touchdowns, and I think at least last week, 2 of the last 3 games. Again, the touchdown he had was a nice play, but it was definitely the defense selling out on the short routes and just let him kind of leak out the back. I don't think he had a lot of catches, maybe 3 or 4. So it wasn't like he was getting peppered but he had the big play of the night. And Lane had a really nice long catch down the, I don't know if it's a sideline or not, but a long catch that wasn't a touchdown. I honestly might have been the best play of the game in terms of the passing game, minus the score. Are these guys even on your bench still, McCaffrey and Lane, or are we just kind of keep an eye on them? I know you have McCaffrey on your list there. I had him as an emergency if Debo was inactive, but with Debo playing, now I've dropped McCaffrey. He's back out there. Yeah,
I got McCaffrey a little bit higher than Lane. Just because of the playmaking ability, but Lane is I mean, I think they're even. I don't think that they're that much far apart. They're not getting targets, so that's the only concern. If they would get more targets, I think their production obviously would be up because they're both good players. I have McCaffrey just a little bit higher, but I'm not. Out of the 3, I would start Ertz over those 3.
Yeah, I agree. He's more of a touchdown threat, a more consistent touchdown threat, even if it's a shorter yardage type play.
Exactly.
All right, moving over to the Dallas side of this monster game here, we got Dak Prescott. Has been one of the best quarterbacks. He had 2 bad games, maybe 1.5 bad games in the beginning of the year, but since then he's getting 25 points or more. He's an automatic start at this point, I would assume, right?
Yep, sure is.
Right,
QB3, so he's good.
Yep. Sorry. Javonte Williams has been awesome all year. And what we thought was a plus matchup against Carolina, which we have to just double check all of our assumptions here in terms of Carolina. Their defense is a little up and down. Sometimes you get the big games, sometimes you don't. They've slowed down Bijan Robinson. They've slowed down Javonte Williams. I'm not putting those guys in the same category, but they both are in the top 10 in terms of fantasy points. Is Javonte Williams back? I mean, he's been pretty much been an auto start since we bought in since week 2. Does that one bad game put him back in that like questionable flex play, or is he still our RB2?
No, I think he's a good start. He's a good RB2 for me. Maybe even an RB1 for this game. But we saw what DeAndre Swift did against the Commanders. So
True.
I think Javonte Williams is a good start for this game.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to go talk about that game because it was a Monday night game. But I mentioned the rewind just because it was the player that made the biggest difference in our closest game. DeAndre Swift was awesome in that game on a Monday night.
Yeah, exactly. How much of that is Ben Johnson? How much of that is DeAndre Swift? A mixture of both. Swift actually played under Ben Johnson for a season or two.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that familiarity. I can't even say that word.
That one gets you every time.
Yeah. Maybe because Ben Johnson kind of knows his skill set, knows what he can push him to and not push him to do. So, but Javonte Williams, I'd start him.
You know what? I know we're not talking about the Bears, but I don't want to finish that thought. Like you said, he's had him on his team, so he knows his skill set. He's a super athletic guy who has not good field vision. So they're like, let's just get him out in space to the outside where he doesn't have to look where the hole is, and they're putting him a lot more screen passes. And when he gets out there, he's really running down. He's making one guy miss instead of trying to find the sweet spot through a crowd.
Exactly, and he's fast. He's very, very fast.
All right, this one's kind of interesting here. We got the receivers here. It looks like CeeDee Lamb is expected to come back. That is huge news. George Pickens has been a mecca stud, no doubt about it. He's been good all year, but especially since the absence of CeeDee Lamb. I think he's the number 3 wide receiver this year in terms of fantasy points. You're always good at double checking me, but he's definitely been in that top range there. He's been awesome. I think he's going to continue to be not that good, continue to be a top 10 play, even with CeeDee Lamb back. How do you rate these guys in this week, being that CeeDee Lamb is his first game back versus Pickens, who's already on fire? Who would you play ahead of the other if you had to pick just one this week?
Yeah, normally I would put anybody ahead of Pickens because I just don't. He's just not my favorite player. But he's proven that he is the man in Dallas. Him and Dak have got something going. So Pickens all the way on this one, man. If CD, it's his first game back, so we'll see what happens. Second game back, third game back, that might change for me. But as of now, you can't not play Pickens. Start Pickens.
I know we have a manager in our league that has both these players, so it stinks he lost his first round pick, CeeDee Lamb, but George Pickens literally has been scoring as much as 2 players the last couple weeks. There's no doubt you're going to be playing both of these players, I think. Right now, I would go with Pickens just because of the injury thing, and we'll see how it shakes out. But essentially, these are both going to be top 12 receivers the rest of the way. You're going to have a bunch of big time games from either one of them, and in any week, one guy can outscore the other. But they're both going to be in that getting 17 to 12 points each week, and it just depends on which one's the one in front.
Yeah. I don't envy the person that has to pick out of the two.
All right, we've got Jake Ferguson, who's been a touchdown monster. His whole career has been the guy who gets all the catches with no touchdowns, and then he had like 3 straight games with a touchdown, give or take. A lot of this might have been due to the fact that CeeDee Lamb was out, and he kind of increased his role on the team. But with CeeDee Lamb coming back, is Jake Ferguson? Is he a tight end play? Most likely you answer that, but does he become a flex play with a full complement of receivers for Dallas?
No, I don't think Jake Ferguson will be a flex play for me, but he'd definitely be a tight end play. Probably a mid-level tight end at this point. But I'm not high on Jake Ferguson for this game.
All right, let's move along to our last game here. We're spending a little bit of time, but it's kind of fun breaking these down. All these games there's not a lot of good games this week. It took me a while to find, and all of a sudden these kind of came into view. I'm like, these actually are going to be really good games. All right, we've got our last game of on Monday night here. Not the last game, there's a 10 o'clock game after that, but our last game in our 3-game preview. Tampa Bay Bucks, the number 1 team in the NFC, versus the Detroit Lions on Monday night in the Motor City at 7 p.m. Keep in mind, guys, a little bit of an earlier start here, especially for you guys who get out of work a little later. I usually get home after 7 o'clock. always frantically checking my inactives on these games, and I've got Mike Evans on this team now, so I'm going to be really nervous here. All right, so we've got an over/under of 53 points, another big over/under. Detroit's favored by 5.5. Is that right? Can you double check me? That's what I wrote down last time I did this.
I got 4.5 to 5.5, depending on where you're going.
Yeah, I did it a day and a half ago. So, but it's all right. Make sure it's in that. Wow, they have Detroit that favored. Wow. So Detroit's favored by 5.5. How do you think this game's gonna go? Who's gonna cover? Who's gonna win?
I think it's going to hit the over for sure. This will be the biggest blowout or biggest game of the three. I think that Tampa can cover the spread, but Detroit's going to win 34-30 Detroit.
That's what I have as well. Tampa covering. All their games come down to the last score, so they're going to be within 6 points at the worst, and that's the only way they're going to not cover the spread if they don't score when they're down 6. Detroit's pretty good at bouncing back after these tough losses.
Oh yeah.
Generally speaking, they tend to really fire it up, and there are a lot of injuries for Tampa Bay. They're already missing Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin and Buka. We have no idea, so we'll just have to keep an eye on this one. All right, let's get into. So I agree with you on all those. I'm not sure about the over part. I'm just not sure it's such a big number, but the spread and win, I kind of agree with you there. All right, let's get to some of the players in action here. Mayfield, number 1 stud. No worry about it. All right, Rachaad White, you have him. He's been very good for you with the absence of Bucky Irving. It's probably nice to know that Bucky Irving's already been ruled out. Gives you a little bit of a, you don't have to stress about, am I playing him or not? So White, I would assume, is an auto start. Is Tucker get on the field as a what-the-heck flex White's been dominating, but Tucker did get a little more work last week. Tucker's a good player, so he's the next man up if White gets banged up or they need to change the pace.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Rachaad White. He's not a must start, but he's on that border between risky and must start. Just because I'm kind of worried about the game script changing if Detroit does what they're supposed to do, what they like to do, which is get ahead and play from ahead, then that's going to shift the weight back to Baker to pass the ball more. So,
well, White's a really good receiver out of the backfield. He's a big time.
He is definitely, and I think it'll be okay because Detroit's defense is injury ridden as well. So, I'm giving Rachaad White a start.
Okay, yeah, I think you ride that as long as you can. You have an asset that you didn't think would be a what the heck flex guy kind of thing, but now he's a starter. Take advantage of it for as long as you can. You never know how long you can ride these backup guys, so you kind of want to put him in your lineup as often as you can. Don't force it. Like I said, the Vidal I'm sitting, but he's a better player. He's had much longer career of success of Rachaad White, so I think he's an automatic start just because of his opportunity in the team he's on at this point, regardless of matchups.
Yeah.
All right, this one's a big question here. This is why I couldn't find Tez Johnson. I thought his name was Trez Johnson. There it is. That's why I couldn't find him. All right, Evans, Abuka. Are these guys? Which of these guys are going to play? How many are going to play? And if they both play, who do you have rated higher? What's your breakdown on these banged up receivers? One on the way out, one on the way in.
Yeah, if Abuka plays, he's higher. He's just proven it. He is the man there. He's got the better chemistry. I'm not gonna take anything away from Mike Evans. He's just an older guy. So he's just not gonna have fresh legs throughout the game like Abuka would. But if Abuka is any sign of being injured, not getting as many snaps as he is, Mike Evans might be the sneaky multiple touchdown game that he is so prone to have.
Yeah, this one's nervous being that it's Monday night. Depending unless they give you some kind of really concrete reports here, the way they're doing so far, this is gonna be nerve wracking. You either have to have a backup plan ready to go, or have to make a decision like I don't want to deal with the question marks and put in your last flex, last receiver in on Sunday night. So this is nerve wracking that they're on a Monday.
You know what? I'm gonna change my take.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that Mike Evans is gonna have the multiple touchdown game. Mike Evans might get the edge for me to start on this one. He's due. He's. This might be it's 7 weeks in. We've got a body of work that shows other defenses what's going on there in Tampa Bay. Who do they like to go to? How do they like to get it to him? Now, with a little bit of injury risk here with Abuka, maybe this is where the coach shifts and says, okay, you see what we've given you. Now let's give you this now. This might be that transition to give Abuka a little bit of a break. You're
right. And regardless of scheme, Abuka has earned the right to get at least some over the top help safety as opposed to the safety always fading to Evans. I would say that if honestly, it might be better for Evans if Ibuka plays as being he's probably a little slowed up still from that injury. Might be nice to have some of that double coveraging on the other side of the field. So either way, I'm hopeful for Evans, but I'm always nervous with the older guy and a hamstring injury. That's an easy re-aggravation, so I'm very nervous about that. But it's setting up to be the only main man for Tampa Bay is Evans to be the main guy back on the field.
Yeah, and Evans has shown even with a hamstring lingering issue, he can score you 2 touchdowns in the first half and then be out the second half, and you still have a decent stat line.
From your mouth to God's ears, man. All right, let's go. Okay. All right, now there are backup guys on this team. These other receivers here, Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard. They're both quality, like handcuffy type receivers here. Like they're not guys you're going to play in a full allotment here, but they all. Maybe it's Baker. Maybe it's these guys. I think it's a combination of both. I think these guys are quality backups. And Baker's going to throw the ball no matter what and find his best receivers. We saw Shepard last year when those guys got banged up. Shepard had like a 7 or 8 catch game until Jalen McMillan caught the touchdowns at the end. But Shepard was their more move the chains kind of guy. So I actually think Shepard is a really good play if any one of these guys are out. And if they're all out, I've got Shepard as the number 1 receiver on my ranking here. If Evans and Ibuka both miss for whatever reason. How do you consider Tez Johnson versus Shepard? Which one's the better handcuff? Which one's the better? I'm looking for a long bomb. I need a 70-yard touchdown. That's all I'm hoping for. Kind of play.
Yeah, I think I'll make it real simple for this one. It'll be Shepard has the higher floor, and they both have the same ceiling. So if you're looking for the extra passes to pad the stat line, Shepard will give that to you. If you're looking for the longer pass, Johnson will give that to you, but they're both going to hit the same ceiling number. But Shepard has the higher floor, I think.
Yeah, I'd have no problem putting Shepard in my starting lineup, depending on what you got. Like if you're because you have questionable guys, like in my case, you have a Evans, a Deebo Samuel, stuff like that. If one of those guys or two of those guys miss, I'd have no problem picking Shepard right off the waiver wire or free agency list and putting him right in the starting lineup because you're playing him because your other guys aren't, and that just that makes his value shoot up. It's kind of he's a handcuff. He's a handcuff.
Exactly. But again, it's a Monday night game. So if you're looking at this game and players in this game with question marks, you got to really be on top of it before Monday night, man. That's a tough situation to be in.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Going over to the Detroit side, Detroit. Jared Goff. I'm going to ask real quick, 'cause he's not an automatic start. He has his ups and downs. He's always a good game manager. Sometimes that doesn't come in terms of fantasy points. In terms of some of the other guys here, is Jared Goff an automatic start to you? What do you think? What do you have him compared to some of the guys we've been talking about?
I would say compared to Baker, I would start Baker over Jared. I would probably start Dak over Jared.
What about the Daniel Jones Herbert? I think he's closer to that range. What do you think about those guys?
I would start Daniel Jones, but not Herbert. Nah, they're pretty close.
I think that's about right. I think they're in that same group of 4 to 5 slots. So
I'd start Goff over Daniels.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and I currently have Goff on a team, and I have him with Caleb Williams, and I am going to start Goff this week over Caleb Williams. So I have Goff having a good game this week. This is going to be a high scoring game, I hope. So fingers crossed.
Okay, all right. And we got Gibbs Montgomery. Gibbs he's been awesome, but he's not getting those ceiling games we're hoping for here. And Montgomery's been a lot slower than normal. Their running game is not. I don't know how to describe it. They've been playing well, but they're not getting those big time games. If Montgomery doesn't throw a touchdown pass here and there, his numbers are stifled. So what do you think about these running backs? Are they? I would say like one guy's taking the work from the other, but they're both just down a notch this year. It seems to me.
Yeah, I'd say that, but I think it's the offense in general as a whole. So I would say Gibbs is obviously a must start for me in this game.
Is Montgomery, because he's actually he had that one good game with the touchdown pass 2 weeks ago, but he got stuffed by the Browns, which makes sense. And this last week he didn't have a great game either, stat wise.
Yeah, I'd put Montgomery in the flex position for this game.
Okay, all right. Would you put Montgomery over Javonte? I mean, that might be obvious. Javonte Williams or Montgomery?
Javonte Williams.
I think so too. I'm just trying to put some
put
some questions here. Okay. All right. Now the receivers here. Amon-Ra St. Brown He's not getting the huge spike games, but he's by far their most reliable receiver over and over again. He finds a way to get the points. Even when he's starting off slow, he'll get a big touchdown in the fourth quarter, or he's just getting a ton of catches without a score. He's pretty solid at that 12 to 17 points, regardless of how it comes. He's an automatic start. Jameson Williams has been a dumpster fire this year, really, but they finally featured him a little bit last week. He had 3 or 4 catches in the first quarter, including a nice touchdown where he bounced off the receivers as he jumped over in towards the end zone. I think the defenders pushed him in the end zone. I think he would have fell down if he didn't get pushed the right direction. But Jameson Williams is not an automatic start anymore. He was improving so much year to year, but he's kind of setting back. And then Laporta is stepping up. I kind of think whichever one of these guys does good, the other one doesn't. Although last week both guys did pretty well in terms of Jameson and Laporta. How would you rate Jameson versus Laporta as a flex? I think Laporta is an automatic tight end start at this point.
Yeah, I give Laporta an automatic tight end start, low end tight end. Jameson is the definition of boom bust this season so far. He's going to give you that boom, but he's definitely busted a couple fantasy bench or fantasy starting lineups. Amon-Ra is going to have a get right game. I think last week was just everybody on Detroit was like, no, this is not the Detroit Lions. So that's why I'm pretty high on Amon-Ra and Jared Goff this game. But the other guy, Tesla, I think he's eating in some of JMO's looks and targets and stuff. So that's going to hinder JMO a little bit.
All right. We spent a little bit of time on these games, but I actually like talking about these games, so that's kind of fun. It's all right. So sorry for a little bit of a long run there, but these are good things to talk about here. All right, let's get into this week's matchups for the Wingman Fantasy Football League.
This week's matchup.
All right, we're going to try and go through these a little bit quicker. That's my fault here, but let's just maybe 1 or 2 points of contention here between each of these matchups. Starting off with Michael's Amazing Spidey coming off his second victory, thank goodness. 2-4, though, still a bad year for Amazing Spidey. Up against Jeff's Always Right, who just suffered his first loss last week. What do you have on this one? I know Always Right has some questionable receivers, as does Amazing Spidey.
Yeah, I see a little bit of questionable going on for Always Right. He's got Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs questionable, Puka Nacua questionable, Marvin Harrison questionable. On the other side, Amazing Spidey's got Drake May, got a little weather going on in Tennessee. He's got Breece Hall on a really bad team, and he's got AJ Brown that needs to have some catches. Honestly, this one is going to be a close matchup, but I'm going to lean towards Amazing Spidey because there's a lot of questionables going on over on the other side. So unless he changes his lineup, as of now, I got Amazing Spidey.
So on a quick blast here, Jeff's Always Right team is awesome. They're obviously undefeated. He had 2 guys leave the game early last week.
He's 5-1.
Yeah, so he was 5-0. He had 2 guys leave the game early last week with Nacua and Marvin Harrison. And I realize his team is very top heavy. Those top 3 guys really make it between Mahomes, Nacua, and Josh Jacobs. So this one's going to come down, in my opinion. If Nacua plays, he's got a really strong chance to get back on the winning ways. If Nacua sits, his backups are not very good to take the place there, which would be a big benefit for Amazing Spidey. Not sure that's going to, that doesn't guarantee anything, but I think Nacua is the big leverage point on this game.
Yeah. Am I allowed to give advice or point out an obvious glaring thing for teams? Is that okay?
Yeah.
No, Always Right, never wrong. You have an empty bench spot, bud. You got to fill that up. All right, that's it.
All right, next one, Paul's Cubert Rage, who's on a 3-game winning streak up against Alex as they took our jobs, who's I think on a 2-game winning streak, I believe. 3-3 for Cubert Rage, 4-2 for they took our jobs. What do you have on this one?
Ooh, this is a good one. This is Cubert's Rage. Jaden Daniels, Christian McCaffrey against they took our jobs, Baker Mayfield and Jahmyr Gibbs. So this is a really good matchup going on here. Again, it's a close game. I'm going to lean towards they took our jobs because he has DeAndre Swift and Kyron Williams also on his team starting.
All right. Our next one here is Ben's Fire Billy Napier. Ever since he changed his name, he's now 3-1, I think, since the name change, if not 3-0. He's on a 3-game winning streak and been the back-to-back high scorer of the season very impressive, Ben. I think this is his best managerial season so far in terms of being in our league. At 4-2, up against Andrew's Crazy Fish, been struggling. Got his first win last week at 1-5. What do you have on this matchup?
Yeah, this looks like a pretty tough matchup for Crazy Fish. This is definitely going to be Average Joe's winning if he can, but I don't think so. Not this game, Crazy Fish. This is a Rico Daddle versus Chuba Hubbard. Fire Billy has Rico and Crazy Fish has Chuba in their starting lineups as we speak.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't think about that. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's going to be a very, very big tell here. All right, our next one here, Katie's King George off a very big time score and a big victory, against Bernie's Team B last week, is at 4-2 up against some Fantastics. Don't have the exact way he's going. I think he's pretty much winning one, losing one. He's at 3-3. What do you have on this matchup between 4-2's Katie's King George and 3-3's Ken's the Fantastics?
Oh, Katie, you are very good at what you do. Poker, fantasy football, all things, you're good. I'm going to give this one to King George. It is Justin Herbert, Bijan Robinson, and Cam Scadaboo going up against Jalen Hurts for Fantastics. And that's really it. He's got Dobbins and Kamara, which he's got two New Orleans Saints. He's got Kamara and Olave, which are both questionable. So I'm going to give this one to Katie's King George.
All right, our next one here is Reggie's Lionized. Got his first victory 2 weeks ago, but couldn't get it going. He's at 1-5 up against Brian's under 40, who has a 4-2 coming off a loss as well. Which one of these teams will get a win after last week's loss?
I'm going to give this one to Lionized. I think he's got Matt Stafford. He's got Matt Stafford and Judkins. I think Judkins is going to have a much better game than last time.
Yes.
The only issue is he's got two Tampa Bay receivers here. He's got Godwin and Ibuka. If both of them are in the game, Lionized has this matchup. On the other side, under 40, he's got Bo Nix. He had a rough going, but he's going up against the Giants, and the Giants are feeling themselves. Ashton Genty couldn't really get going. He's got Garrett Wilson, who's on a bad team and doubtful. So I'm going to give this one to Lionized. I don't want to jinx you, bud, but under 40, his team started strong, but they're starting to fade, just like mine.
All right, this matchup here, both these teams started out the year 3-0, and they both hit a little bit of a hiccup, although Corey's May Daddy 2s rebounded with a win last week. At 4-2, Corey's May Daddy 2s up against Bernie's Team B, who's on a 3-game losing streak despite being the highest scoring loser in all 3 games and the highest scoring winner 2 of the first 3 weeks. And only by a fraction were you not the highest scorer in all the first 3 weeks. So again, a bunch of points, but the wins and losses are even. What do you have on this one?
I'm going to win this. I'm sorry, Corey. I usually am flattering to the teams I'm playing, but you're really good, and I don't want to be flattering. You have Brock Purdy, who's questionable. You have Jordan Mason, who hasn't really been showing up. You've got Jamar Chase that doesn't have anybody really throwing him the ball to make a difference. And you got JMO that we just discussed is either boom or bust. You got another Cleveland guy, Harold Fannin Jr. on your team starting. Okay. I'm going to have Jared Goff. I'm going to have Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to have Rashad White. If these people can show up and win, then it should be a cakewalk for me.
All right. This one, we have two teams that are 2-4. Jimerson's Red Sox Nation at 2-4 versus Nick's Waddle Away, who's we always mention is decimated by injuries. He's not the only one, but one of the main guys here who's losing a lot of players. Although he's getting CeeDee Lamb back this week, per reports. Again, both these guys are at 2-4. What do you have on the Red Sox Nation Waddle Away matchup?
All right. Before I give you this matchup, Corey, I love you, bud. All right. So Red Sox Nation, we have Jackson Dart, Saquon Barkley, Tedero McMillan. Waddle Away, we have Trevor Lawrence, Rhamondre Stevenson, and Hunter Henry. If I have to tell you which one looks better, then you shouldn't be playing fantasy football. Red Sox Nation gets the win.
All right. It's now time to take a look at our updated power rankings.
I have the power!
By the power of Grayskull!
I'm living in it, no one man should have all that power.
Wingman Power Rankings.
All right, I'm going to go through this real quick, Bernie, just to help us go through this a little faster here. Always Right is still on top. Bernie's team B, despite the 3-game slide, has moved up in terms of power rankings, as I guess they like your projections going forward. I'll take the under 40, swap spots with Bernie. And then they took our jobs. So Fantastics is our biggest dropper. They were 4th last week, have dropped down to 8th, while Fire Billy Napier has moved from 10 to 6. So that's our biggest movers and shakers. Everyone else is similar to where they were last week. That's it for the power rankings. All right. You're still up there, Bernie. You went up despite losing 3 in a row. Are you kind of surprised you moved up the power rankings this last week?
I think my team just took a step back because the star players who they are, who got me to the 3-0 start, just had a couple bad games. That's all. I think they're on track to finish the season.
All right, guys. Now it's time to get into our starts of the week. Bring it in. Take a knee. Who wants in?
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
All right, son. Don't let me down. You're in.
Wingman Fantasy Football starts of the week.
Yeah.
All right, guys. All right. Before we get to this week's starts of the week, we'll do a quick review of last week's starts of the week. Once again, Bernie, for time purposes, I'm going to run these as fast as I can.
You're good.
All right. Coming into week number 6, we were 12-15 as a show where I was 7-6. Bernie was 5-9. Last week, Bernie went with Sam Darnold, J.K. Dobbins, and Jake Ferguson. Darnold projected at 15.7, overperformed to get 20 points. That's a green thumbs up for Bernie on Sam Darnold. J.K. Dobbins, however, had an awful day, getting only 4 points against his 10.3-point projection. And Jake Ferguson, at a projected 8.9 points when we did the picks here, came in at 10.8 as he got another touchdown. Bernie was 2-1 last week. Nice job, Bernie. All right, now for my starts of the week, I went with Matthew Stafford in the juiciest of matchups in a rainy day in Baltimore. It was not successful. Projected at 16.5, came in at 11.3. That's a thumbs down for Stafford. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in a beautiful matchup on Monday night against the Bears also was a letdown. Projected at 10.6, could only get 7.3. And the only guy to come through for me was King Tet. King Tech got in the end zone twice, and he needed that because he only had about 30 yards receiving. Projected at 12.4, came in at 16.4. So last week, Bernie was 2-1. I was 1-2. So after week 6, as a show, we are 15-18, where I am down to 8-8. Bernie has improved to 7-10. We're getting there, guys. Remember, we're picking these flex guys, trying to find some diamonds in the rough, and sometimes they just need to be, these diamonds are turds. All right, let's get into week's 7's starts of the week. Bernie, why don't you do your quarterback to start off with?
All right, no problem. This week I'm going to do Sam Darnold, 15.6 projected points. He does have a late start, but that's okay because he'll be at home.
That's the one that killed me. That's why I put that to wait down for that one. So you're doing back-to-back with Sam Darnold. Was that on purpose, or he just caught your attention twice?
He just caught my attention twice.
He has a lower projection this week than last week. I think the projection is what's staring at you.
It does. The projections do stare at me, and I think that's where you get the benefit, is where they're gonna go well over the projection.
All right, I'm going way off the board here, guys, because Bernie took a lot of my guys. I'm not going to lie here, so I didn't know what to do. I'm going with Dillon Gabriel, guys. We're doing it. We're going to steel pants. We are lighting the world on fire. We're going Dillon Gabriel up against the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins give up the second most points to the quarterback position. If they can spread the ball around here and not just focus on the running game, they're going to have a chance to get some passing plays as well. Yep, Dillon Gabriel is my quarterback start of the week. All right,
Are you
Bernie,
sure you don't want
go
to change that to Shedeur Sanders? I mean, he's projected at like 3 points, so he might get 10 or 15.
The problem is here, Dillon Gabriel's projected for 16.5 points. He's projected for more points than Sam Darnold. That's crazy. This is not going to go well. All right, who's your running back start of the week?
All right, the running back start that I stole from Mike this week is Mr. Quinshon Judkins at 12.1 fantasy points, and Mike pretty much summed up why, because they're playing the Dolphins.
So I didn't have my 3 picks together in my head. I didn't look at it yet, but I knew I wanted Judkins. I was like, should I text him? Should I text Bernie? I know who I want a running back. I'll figure the rest later, but I was in my head. I'm like, no, it's fair if I just get them all. Before I could finish getting them all, he sends me the text. I'm taking Judkins, Darnold, and his other receiver. I'm like, oh, all right, you got him. But we all listen. Judkins is the start of the week. I think across all of fantasy football. Yeah. In my opinion, being that both of us independently had him as our start of the week, I think it's pretty safe to say that Judkins, at least on paper, should dominate. All right, my running back start of the week. I was a little nervous of which one to play. Do I go through the dart throw for Travion Henderson or go with old fumbling steady Rhamondre Stevenson? In a game against Tennessee, it's going to all come down to what Vrabel wants to do as he wants to beat this team. Does he want to pound him with the strong running back, or does he want to do it with spice and lightning with Travion Henderson? I think he wants to do the pounding. I think that's his style. So I'm going with Rhamondre Stevenson against the Tennessee Titans, who give up the third most points to the running back position. Rhamondre is projected at 10.3, so as long as he gets in a touchdown, he should beat that. All right, Bernie, who's your receiver start of the week?
I have Mr. Xavier Worthy projected at 10 points. They look like the Chiefs of old, high flying, get some points on the board, make some spectacular big plays. So Xavier Worthy, 10 points.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
I will say, in terms of the Chiefs, what was some of the things that were tempering their passing game was the fact their running game was so successful the last 2.5 years. Their running game stinks. I don't know if it's the offensive line, the players. Pacheco's not getting anything going. Kareem Hunt's okay, but between the amount of carries these guys are getting, they're not doing anything. And their defense is not quite. They're still good, but not quite as dominating as they've been the last couple of years as well. That's a great combination for Patrick Mahomes. And I think Patrick Mahomes being made fun of the last couple of years, he's like, screw you guys, I'm going to show you that I can do it. And he's been back to his number one ways.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm going with Courtland Sutton for my receiver start of the week against the New York Giants. As you mentioned, they give it the third most points to the wide receiver position. They're a little up and down. We're not sure exactly what the Giants are going to be here, but nonetheless, I'm going for this one here at a 10.7 projection. Man, I like your picks better than mine. I'm not going to lie. So I got Courtland Sutton as my receiver start of the week.
That's all right. We're doing it as a group, so maybe our group total will go up if I can get 3-0.
All right, there we go. All right, guys, it is time for my favorite today, Thursday segment, and it should be yours. It is a 4th and long with Bernie.
First down, the game's over. Go for it.
This measurement could determine the Giants'
It is
season.
time for 4th and long.
With Bernie.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to 4th and Long. I'm Bernie. And it's week 7, Oktoberfest season. All right, picture this. You're in an Oktoberfest tent. There's a beer menu. There's 32 options. You recognize maybe 6, maybe 7 of them. The rest of them could be amazing. Could be a mistake, but you won't know until you're 3 sips in and it's too late to go back. That's the NFL right now. 32 teams, some exactly what you expected, some aren't even close. And the ones you thought you knew, they taste different this year for sure. So let's talk about it. And the only way that makes sense in October. Start off here, the Pilsner, Puka Nakua. Puka Nakua is your Pilsner. Clean routes, reliable hands, does exactly what you need him to do. No flash, no drama. Second-year guy playing like he's been in the league for a decade. You order a Pilsner because you know what you're going to get. You start Puka for the same reason. All right. Number 2, the IPA. Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield? That's an IPA all day, bud. Bold, in your face, not for everyone. Some people love the bitterness. Some people can't stand it. But when it hits just right, it's perfect. Tampa's offense is aggressive. Baker's slinging it downfield, and yeah, there'll be some mistakes. That's the IPA experience. High risk, high reward. Oh, number 3 here, the stout. Jonathan Taylor is a stout. Heavy, powerful, leaves an impression. When he gets going, you feel it. The Colts lean on him like you lean on a Guinness after a long week. Dark, relentless, and by the 4th quarter, defenses are exhausted just trying to contain him. Number 4, the wheat beer. Christian McCaffrey is your Hefeweizen. Light, smooth, refreshing, makes everything look effortless. Catching passes out of the backfield, hitting the edge, finding the end zone. It's not about power with CMC. It's about finesse. You watch him and think, how does he make that look so easy? And last, number 5, Oktoberfest. Bijan Robinson. Bijan is the Oktoberfest, rich, balanced, everything you want in one package. Running between the tackles, catching out of the backfield, pass blocking when needed. Atlanta's got the complete back. Traditional football is the best way. You don't need to overthink it. Just hand him the ball and let him work. Well, so there's your beer guide for the NFL's 5 styles, 5 players, and a whole lot of football left to drink this season. Week 7, we're halfway through October, halfway through the season. Some of these picks are going to age well. Some are going to go flat by December. That's the beauty of it. Grab your beer of choice, settle in, and enjoy the games this weekend. I'm Bernie. Cheers to you, and we'll see you next week on 4th and Long. Yeah. Well, I did it for in honor of this this weekend's Oktoberfest event.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka! I just realized I was on mute coming out of that 4th and Long. I just want to say I like that beer 4th and Long, Bernie. That was really good. I appreciate that one there. I know you answered what I said, but I had mine on mute still while you did that. All right. Anyway, this week's Wingman Jam. Bernie and I are not picking teams this week. We are giving full space out for our audience members who have joined us in the Wingman Jam through the first 7 weeks here. We have Andrew, who earned the seat number 1 in the Showcase Showdown, taking down weeks 1 through 3 with a 10-point score. And Austin used those 3 rollover points from the phase 1 into phase 2 and finished with 12 points in phase number 2 in weeks 4 through 6. So these guys are going heads up in a battle for Wingman Jam supremacy here in our first half of the season's Wingman Jam battle. These guys are playing for some merch here. We've got the classic shirt here of the Wingman Jam with the Wingman Fantasy Football logo in front and the Wingman Jam logo on the back. And we have the Creators Edition with the Wingman Jam logo in front and Bernie and my player card on the back. That's a bold choice right there to have faces on your shirt. All right, guys. All right, so we're rooting for these guys. They're going to get their picks in by Sunday here, and we'll let you know which ones they picked on the Sunday morning quickie so you guys know who to root for, Austin or Andrew. You guys seen Austin on the show before, so at least you've seen his face, so maybe you're rooting for the young kid. If not, let the old man take it. All right, Bernie, which of these shirts do you like best, the classic or the Creators Edition?
The Creators Edition. I already have a Wingman poker shirt with my face on it. I need to get one of these Wingman Jams with my face on it.
There you go. All right. Very good, guys. All right, it is now time to get into this week's mailbag.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. Wingman Fantasy Football.
Mailbag! All right, this one comes in from Anonymous. It says, "Hey, guys at Wingman, our league is really, what's the word to use here? Really tight when making trades, and it's really hard for us to make trades. How do you guys get trades done in your league, or do you do trades at all?" Bernie, how many trades have you at least tried to send out to people this year?
I've only tried one this year, and I tried to get Cam Scadaboo before he blew up. But I believe the manager, and I've talked about it before, Katie's King George, she's just really good at what she does. She held tight to him, and she didn't even make a counter offer. She was going to stick with him no matter what. For me, it's hard to make trades just because you got to like time it right. Thursday games, everything just kind of line up. The person that you're requesting has to see the notification in time. It's just a lot going on to make those trades for me.
Yeah. I actually was able to make a trade this past week. I'm going to play this graphic because I think, let's see if it works. There we go. Buy. Sell.
Hold. Wingman Fantasy Football. Trade Wise.
I forgot to play that in this last show here. All right, so I was able to make a trade with the aforementioned Katie's King George, much to the chagrin here of Bernie's team. So I was able to acquire Mike Evans, RJ Harvey, and Spencer Rattler, sending out Justin Herbert, Travis Kelce, and Travis Hunter. Mike Evans was the biggest name on this list here, but he was missing time with no clear indication when he's going to return, although that seems to have improved this week. But the reason this was able to go down, I think, is she had Kyler Murray, who was out, Mike Evans, who was out. So I gave her Justin Herbert to give her a quarterback, and she was able to put Travis Kelce in her lineup. So she got a solid quarterback, and Travis Kelce got 10 points. So it seemed like that was the difference maker in the matchup versus Bernie last week. But Bijan Robinson scored 32 points, and honestly, she could have put nobody in those spots and still would have won or been pretty darn close. So I feel pretty good about it. It seems like Katie and I make a trade once a year, almost every year. 3 of the last 4 years we've made a deal, and Mike Evans has been part of it 2 out of those 3 times. So, one, what do you think about the trade overall? How do you think what do you think about the fact that I improved your opponent's roster? It was irrelevant of who she was playing, but it did make a difference in your potential matchup.
No, I don't know. She got the quarterback. I don't know if it was completely irrelevant, right? Didn't she start that quarterback, Justin Herbert?
Yeah, she started 2 of those players she received.
Yeah, and she didn't have a quarterback ready to go, so that it kind of irked me a little bit, but I'm not mad at it. That's the game, man. That's the game. I was gonna do a whole 4th and long about collusion, but I decided not to. No, honestly, it's great. It's great that there's some trades being made. It's good that everybody got their thing. I'm not worried about it because I'm happy with my team. It's a bummer I lost, but Bijan did Bijan things and Scatabo did Scatabo things, so there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, there's 230 burgers against you. It's pretty hard to beat that no matter what you got going on.
Exactly.
It seems like Jonathan Taylor can match one of them. He can't match both.
Exactly.
All right, guys. I want to thank you all so very much for joining us for this extended early edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. A programming note here. Our temps are on Saturday from the Beer Garden tent for Oktoberfest tent party here. We're going to do a live stream at approximately 4:30, maybe 4:45 by the time we actually push play here. So Bernie and I are going to do a little bit of a different format, as our 2-point conversation will be prior to the games going on here. But we're going to get that on the live stream. We're going to send that out to you at the normal posting time in terms of recordings for podcasts and stuff. They'll be out there early Monday morning. But if you want to watch us live, go ahead and join us on our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube or youtube.com/@Wingman Fantasy Football. Please join us for our Beer Garden tent. I know I'll be in my lederhosen by then. I'm not sure what Bernie's going to be ready to go, as he'll be coming into town. But we'll be cracking the first beers of the day at the tent. So join us live for that. And if you want to hear us, you can find us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search Wingman the League, and we'll come to the top of your search. Hey, if you do get to see us on our YouTube page via the live stream or even recordings, go ahead and do me the favor, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let us know how we can improve and which games you want us to go over, even what you want us to have in our 2-point conversation at the tent. We will abide by that as well. All right, guys, thank you so much. With that being said, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And remember, if you're drinking a bitter beer, just think of Aaron Rodgers' face.
See you next time, guys.